Thank you for plugging into this Family Life News podcast, streaming issues-driven, family-focused news. And welcome back to another edition of Issues in Education. Mondays during the Noon Report, we spotlight the issues that matter most to our public schooling families with Dr. Ralph Kerr at the Teaching and Learning Institute. Ralph, welcome back to the program, sir. I hope you had a very Merry Christmas and the big man brought you everything you wanted.
Thank you, Bob. At this point in my life, I don't need much and got more than I needed.
All right. Hey, you and me both. But hey, here we are, just a couple more days until the new year. And for a lot of us, it can't come soon enough. You look back on 2020 and, terms like remote learning, things that we never thought we'd have to say, and now just part of the education lexicon. What a year this has been for our schools, trying to navigate this pandemic and educate as best they can. How do you think they did overall in the 10 or 11 months here that we've been struggling through this health emergency?
Well, it's an interesting question, and I think it's really a very varied answer in that some schools, as far as making attempts to continue to educate the children in the district, I think just went beyond anything that anybody could even imagine. The teachers were great. I think the parents, once they got used to it, did a good job. But I am really concerned about some districts where there's no doubt that the children got shortchanged big time. Give you a couple of examples. For one thing, in the big cities, the unions, for a reason that I still can't figure out, just didn't want to do school at all. And so they really pressed the administration not to do in-person learning. But again, overall, I think in the listening area, schools made a great attempt. And I think if you were going to ask me for a grade, I'd give them a solid C. Some of those that I was kind of critical of, I would give them one big F.
There you go. And we're looking ahead to 2021 and what will school look like. I had a superintendent in Western New York tell me just yesterday that post-pandemic remote learning will still be the norm. Things like snow days. What happens to those? What do you think, Ralph? And nobody knows how long this pandemic will last, but when you get out that crystal ball and look into 2021, what do you think are going to be the biggest challenges facing our schools?
Well, there's a whole list, but I'll give you three. One would be that the financial impact is going to be terrific. I mean, the state has already sort of floated the idea of a 20% cut in aid to education. They've not finalized that, but I don't see how that can, not maybe that percentage, but some percentages can't be avoided. Going into the future, they're relying on the feds to, bail everybody out, and I don't think that's going to happen. Secondly, I don't know how you make up for the lost learning of the students. I mean, everybody would agree that even over the summer, there's a certain amount of loss that students have. When you put that into, either remote learning or no learning for basically a year, I don't know how that's going to be made up. It's going to be a real challenge for everybody involved. And then thirdly, just the health and safety, not knowing, exactly where we're going to be and what the circumstance is going to be. And then you mentioned on a fun thing, the snow days. I think we've probably seen the end of those because schools will just go to remote learning on days when, they would normally call a snow day.
Boy, I hope no kids are listening right now. You might be the Grinch that stole Christmas, Ralph. One of the great things about your organization, Ralph, is it gets Christians involved in public education. Instead of being reactive, be proactive. Maybe somebody's listening to this program right now and, hey, I want to make a difference where my child goes to school. Now is the time to start asking yourself that question. How can I serve my local school district? How would you counsel that person asking themselves that question today, Ralph?
Well, certainly if they go to our website, whyrun.org, we have lots of materials on there about what's involved in running for the school board. And let me just speak personally for a minute. I was a school superintendent for 18 years, and I've now been on the BOCES board, the Cattaraugus-Allegheny BOCES, for 4 years. years. And I can tell you, even with all my experience as a superintendent, being a board member is different. And it's a real good learning experience. And the boards are responsible for important things like policy, curriculum, and textbooks. And it's a great way for people to be involved in their local public school. And I would just encourage anyone that's thinking about it to pray about it, because this is the time right after the new year to begin to put some steps into those thoughts.
Yes, indeed. And that's why we love bragging on the Teaching and Learning Institute. If you care about public education where you live, get involved. And again, Ralph, if you would, what is that website, sir?
It's just simply yrun.org, yrun.org.